Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I finally get to do something music related that isn't a cover, and I am so excited. I'm going to do a bit of an analysis of Tyler the Creator's Flower Boy, and it's kind of half an analysis and half like a response to the video that he uploaded I think a couple days ago called Flower Boy, a conversation. Watching that video made me so happy because it was just everything that I theorized about like, what he was trying to convey in his album, a lot of it ended up being true. And I'm not saying that it's like, oh, I know Tyler or anything like that. Just from listening to it over and over and over again and just really analyzing the lyrics, and it like dived even further to things that I didn't even realize that Tyler experienced, which just made it a lot easier to relate to him and everything. It's just so cool. And also, as I've said in at least 2 of my videos, I am not a beauty guru by any means, but I did try to make like a Flower Boy inspired like eye look. And it may not be blended as well as maybe like Nikki Tutorials or Manny MUA. Also, you can tell obviously I don't really have lashes. My probably looks really weird, but I was not gonna try to put on fake lashes today. So please no one roast me in the comments. I'm so eager to start talking about this. I'm just so excited. So I wanna also preface this with, I didn't really start listening to Tyler the Creator until Flower Boy, and I know if this video picks up and views, I know there's gonna be Tyler the Creator fans who are gonna be like, I'm not about to listen to some girl who became a fan after Flower Boy got released. And I'm like, I get that, you know, because I know it shouldn't, but personally it does bug me whenever people start listening to the most recent album and then wanna act like they know everything about him. I'm not remotely claiming to know everything about Tyler by any means. Even if I was a diehard fan, I'm a diehard fan of different rappers, but I would never claim to know everything about them because A, that's creepy. B, they don't show us our whole lives. I always see people fight in the comments over like whose music's better, how they're interpreting which and what and everything. And it's like, at the end of the day, we all don't know them as well as we really think we do. So I just want to leave you with that. So anything I say here, I don't want y'all to think that I'm like, oh, I think I'm hot stuff, just like preaching the good word about Tyler. But in reality, this is my interpretation, and this is just from notes that I've taken from watching the video. Because I watched the video for the second time today, and I literally took like 3 pages of freaking notes on the video as I watched, starting with Forward, which features Rex Orange County. So what I noticed and what they noticed as well, a lot of this is going to be very similar to what they said in the video, so don't think I'm trying to like copy the video in any way. This is like stuff that I agree with. And Forward, I said it was like an odd tempo to start, and with a strange yet cohesive chords. And I can't play the music for you or any song off this album, sadly, because I'm trying not to get copyrighted. Forward, gotta listen to it. It's a great start to the album. It has a very existential crisis kind of vibe. It's a bunch of metaphors and similes about like, just like, what if I'm not living my life to the fullest? Like, what if all I've been doing was for nothing? And I remember at the beginning of the video where they were having the discussion, the first thing the interviewer said was like, are you okay? And you can kind of understand why he would be asking this, because when you listen to Forward, it's just like, it's very dark. It sounds like something that like a suicidal person could possibly write, but Tyler already said that he's perfectly fine. He's not depressed. He's not suicidal or anything like that. And so what he actually said regarding the song and regarding just the whole album in general, he was like, people mix depression with self-awareness. And that's actually very true. I mean, I myself have gone through depression, but then sometimes when I feel like the depression comes back, then I realize like, no, I'm actually just becoming more aware of who I am and how I've grown or how I'm not growing as a person. And that makes a lot of sense when you listen to the lyrics in Forward. Another question he kind of asks himself, when I die, will I be able to say I left my mark? And that's his biggest fear, is that he's just gonna die. Tyler the Creator is gonna become irrelevant and all of his music is for nothing, which I promise you it definitely won't. He could literally drop dead today and people will still be listening to his music in 30 years. I will bet money on that. But that was like the main drive behind Forward. And I thought that was kind of cool that it reminds you that artists, they don't have it all together either, which I already knew, but like, it's a nice wake-up call, because when you see how talented these people are, you're like, there's no way that they could be going through struggles. But then you realize, I'm like, no, they're humans just like us. They got their lucky break to expose their talents, and we didn't. But they're still humans, and they're still like us in that way, of course. It's like, wow, he's really doubting himself, even though he produces a lot of great music, which is kind of good and kind of humbling for him. And he was also saying in the video that it was a switch up from Cherry Bomb, to invoke more emotion, which I definitely agree with. I listened to Cherry Bomb and I didn't dislike it. It wasn't an album that I like would come back to like once a week or anything like I do with my other like favorite albums. Like, it was a good album, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like, it's not my flower boy, I guess, when it comes to Tyler. He even stated in the video, it was like, I need to not be screaming as much in this album. I needed to be more personal. I wasn't gonna make Cherry Bomb personal, but I wanted this one to be personal so people just knew that like I'm not always perfect all the time, and I do have these thoughts that go through my head. It was basically a concept album where it's just like, here's what's going on in my head, and I hope you like it. And I did like it. And then the second song on the album is Where This Flower Blooms. And I put it as changing the game, basically, which is where he's basically switching it up from Forward, which is the previous song. And basically it talks about ego, and he states this in the video too, with a Disney soundtrack kind of vibe, like the orchestrals. Like in the very beginning, you could tell with all the various string instruments being played. My favorite line, and they mentioned it there, was tell these black kids they can be who they are. And I resonate with that so much because if it's not obvious to you, I don't like saying this because you can't speak a color, but my entire life I've been told that I talk white, which is ridiculous. My subjects just agree with my verbs. I don't talk white, you can't talk a color, but I don't sound like what society deems as your average black person. Basically, I don't sound ghetto, which is what people associate with black people and Hispanic people, which sucks, but I don't sound like that, and I used to get heavily bullied because of that, and I guess so did Tyler. He doesn't sound white or anything, but whenever he wanted to do things that people considered white people stuff, I guess his fellow black friends would call him out and be like, you can't do that, that's white people stuff. I've been called out on that all the time because since I talk properly, or at least I think I talk proper, I guess, it just sucks because just because of the amount of melanin in my skin, it's deemed weird that I speak like this. Literally, we're all judging each other on race based on how much melanin or the lack of melanin in our skin. I talk like this, but if I had white skin, it would be deemed acceptable. And same thing for him. Because he was talking about how he wanted to go snowboarding, and people said that's white people shit or whatever. And it's like, but if he had white skin, obviously that would be okay. And I'm like, but why though? We all have the same body parts. We may not look color-wise the same, but I don't know. It's just very frustrating. Just tell these black kids they can be who they are. Like, they can do whatever they want as long as it's legal and doesn't really hurt anybody or directly affect anyone in a negative way. Like, he purposely didn't rap for most of the album, and this is where he speaks on it for Where This Flower Blooms. He just likes to throw in his verses towards the end of the songs typically, or maybe like one time in the middle, and just lets the people featured on his album just do the rest, which I think is great. Some of them are notable names, but a lot of them are people that either haven't sung or haven't produced any music in a while, are local, West Coast or Chicago or Georgia or something like that. Like, you've never really heard of them. So it was nice to be able to have him feature them as much as he did, because then that also gives him the exposure. And then moving on to the next song, the third song is Sometimes, which is gonna be the shortest one I talk about because it's literally 36 seconds. And it's basically just a little interlude, and it's kind of relatable because the only like real sung lyric is sometimes I sit in my room, and that's literally me. I am such a homebody. But what I took away from the song is that it was like obviously a filler thing. Like, you can't really dissect a 36-second song, especially when there's only one really sung lyric. But I thought it was funny how he brought in a radio host, Shane Powers, and he was just not here for Tyler and his silence. It was basically like a little segment where I guess Tyler calls in on the radio. And I don't know, I just thought that was funny. The next song is See You Again. Love this song. Whenever I ask people if they've heard Flower Boy, they're like, yeah. And I'm like, what's your favorite song? And they're like, I always say like See You Again. And I don't blame them. I love See You Again. Definitely is the source of metaphors for this entire album. For example, they're like, can I get a kiss? Can you make it last forever? Said I'm about to go to war. But I actually thought that that literally meant like there was some story behind how I guess maybe like a family member of his went off to war. But no, it's just a metaphor for like, I'm going to war, meaning I'm waking up and I'm going into the real world. Like, he's in his dreams right now, which actually makes a lot of sense now, which is how I know that like I didn't have the exact same interpretation, of course, than the actual rapper himself. I could tell when I first listened to the song, I'm like, this is gonna be one of those songs where so many quotes are going to be taken from it and put in people's Instagram bios to think that they're profound. These are profound lyrics, but just, you know, there's going to be those types of people who are going to be like, I'm so profound because I found this lyric, you know? For example, when he said dirt colored eyes, he could have easily just said like your pretty brown eyes without hopefully getting copyrighted by Cody Simpson. And I'm a big fan of songs who sound cool but then can switch up and like have all these like different beats and everything. And that's what See You Again does, because it's like very calm. Because who sings in this? Oh, I'm gonna butcher her name. Callie Uchis? That's so sad. There's a song I really like by her that I've liked for like 2 years, and here I am still not being able to pronounce her freaking name. I'm so sorry if I butcher your name and you see this or any of her fans see this, but yeah, her beautiful voice starts off the song and it's very nice, and the melody is just very nice and sweet. And then he's just like, okay, and drops the beat and everything, and it's just like, you can't help but get just really pumped. And then it, towards the chorus, it's like 2020 vision. You can kind of digress. And then it goes right back up because then he goes right back into his verse. And it's just, I just love whenever songs just have that growth throughout. Next one is Who Dat Boy? I think the title of it's just really funny because I just think of that freaking frog on a bike meme, you know what I'm talking about. For Who Dat Boy, Tyler the Creator originally made the song with Schoolboy Q in mind and A$AP Rocky. He was originally thinking Schoolboy Q, and then when Schoolboy Q wasn't feeling it, he asked A$AP Rocky, and then he did end up doing it. It's a modern day Jaws build-up music, because you know, like the Jaws music is like dun-na, dun-na. And you hear at the beginning of this song, which I really wish I could play it, but I really don't want to get copyrighted. It's like very like jolty chords. I remember when I first listened to the album, first of all, I was like, did someone mess up the track? Not because I thought it was bad, but I was like, this is so different from what I was expecting from what I had listened to so far of the album. And I'm like sitting alone in my room and I'm like, this is creepy. I feel like this is what would be playing if the zombie apocalypse happened. There's a picture he had in mind where there's this lady who's like looking off while on the beach and everyone else is enjoying themselves on the beach, but she has this look where you can tell that she sees something's coming that's out of frame, and that's what that was based off of. He's like, I was trying to write the music for that, which he said mainly because the goal for this album was for it to be kind of like a music score for a movie, which definitely worked out. That'd be so cool if it was in any action film. Like I could so see it in like a Marvel or DC film. That was amazing. Who Dat Boy, the central message of it is basically like, I am that bitch. He'd probably say I am that N-word, but yes, I'm black, but I don't really feel comfortable about saying that word too often, so I'm not gonna say it. But basically, he's that bitch, and he's basically saying, y'all better come correct and know that I am, in fact, that bitch, and move on. Next one is Pothole, featuring Jaden Smith. And I already love Jaden Smith. I loved his Sire album, because it was also just like Flower Boy. Not saying the depth of it, but like the fact that they're the kind of albums where like most songs flow into the next. I love how Tyler has it kind of taken him under his wing a bit. And it's just really nice how he has so much confidence in Jaden and Pothole. Like the way he was talking about it in the interview, you could just tell he just got so excited and happy to like hear that Jaden like did it so well, did it so fast, and it ended up being good. It's one of those songs where you can just kind of like sit back and relax, and I can just imagine, even though I wasn't really out in the summer doing a tan, because obviously I don't need a tan, but I would just imagine like sitting out on the beach on a reclined chair and just like sipping, if I were of legal age, sipping sangrias or something and just listening to Pothole. I also want to mention the fact that there was a conspiracy, because if you notice in the Flower Boy album art cover, you see Falcon Carr. I know in Sire, Jaden references is like Falcon doors and all that stuff. And you see that in the background. And it's cool because Jaden's featured on the thing, and Jaden's Sire mentions that Carr a lot. It's kind of cool how like they kind of like hinted at what was coming for Jaden in that, and I thought that was cool. That's just further exemplifies the fact that like Tyler just has so much faith in Jaden, and he should. He actually has legitimate talent. He just was able to get access to it a lot easier than, you know, say I would. Pothole's also a metaphor about like, watch your back. Not everyone has the best intentions for you. Tyler was talking about how his mom was warning him, don't get too excited about friendships going in from the get-go. And Potholes are metaphor for like thinking back on past friendships and relationships. What red flags did I miss? Because I saw this Tumblr quote, when you're wearing rose-colored goggles, you don't see the red flags. And I think that's kind of what he means in this. It's like, you don't see red flags until after the fact that he reflects. And he's just kind of like, where was it going wrong that I didn't see because I was so in love or I was so happy with the friendship? Then he also has the contemplative question where it's like, do I help those who wronged me in the past? Because he's in a good place and he is and he wants to use it for good. Not everyone wants help. You know, even if it's the best intentions behind it, he's not doing it to get more money or more recognition or more adoration. He feels bad that there are people still struggling, maybe like in his hometown, but he was like, I want to help, but some people are just kind of like, nah, F you, F your help. It's just a great way to reflect, and it's helped me reflect on like friendships in high school where I was like, yeah, there was that time where that probably would have been a good time to drop them, but I didn't, and now I can learn from it. Next song is Garden Shed, which is one of my favorite songs. It's just so peaceful and versatile, and all the songs on this album are versatile. The versatility of this particular song, you just have different emotions throughout. Like you go from like, calm, we're in a garden shed, we're in a field of sunflowers. That's from Estelle's part, and then Tyler goes in and you're still calm, but you're just kind of like, okay, now I can get like hyped and like happy. I'm no longer calm, I'm more awake, but I'm still at bliss. What I wrote down is that it goes from pretty to jaded to light to contemplative. He established this, that he purposely, not just in this song, but in my other favorite song that I'll be talking about later, he uses a fake accent throughout the album because he's insecure about his own voice. I don't know why he would be insecure about his own voice because he has a nice, like, deep bass voice, which is very soothing to most people. I think his voice sounds great. His talking voice is great, and that's not me trying to kiss his ass or anything. I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I understand that we all have insecurities that most people don't understand, but only we, like, can internalize and think of it as crazy and make it out into a big thing. So I get that, but that's why in Garden Shed, he just kind of is like, garnishing for the garden. Since this was the first full album that I consciously listened to over and over again by him, I didn't even realize it was much of an accent. And from watching the video, I realized that wasn't his voice, obviously, but it was just really cool how he changed like the inflection and how he said his words. It ended up sounding good, but then whenever he spoke in his regular voice throughout the album, it still also sounded good as well. So he's able to switch it up and it not make a stark difference. Next song is Boredom. Now this is my #1 favorite song off the album. Each year since like 2 years ago, I make on SoundCloud a playlist of like my favorite songs of the year. And I set a rule for myself where I can only choose one song per like favorite album that I listened to that year. And Boredom was the one song I took from this album and put in that playlist because oh my God, it's just such a chill vibe. But it's also something like I definitely use it when I work out. Like it's really good for going on runs or like just anything that's fast paced. Love it. It's amazing. See, I feel like me trying to describe my favorite songs are going to be more difficult because all I can it's not anything deep besides the fact that I love it so much. It just sounds so good to the ears. It's just such a nice thing to listen to in the headphones, on your speakers. But he was telling us about how he was literally laying in his bed just bored out of his freaking mind and how like he knows he has the funds to like go do anything in the world. Like he could literally get up and go to Disneyland if he so chose. He's just bored with everyday life and he's not gonna use money to fix that. So he's just writing about how extremely bored he is. Next song is I Ain't Got Time. Oh my God, this song. Same thing for Who Dat Boy, but mainly I Ain't Got Time. That was a song where it's like, I'm not gonna be emotional this entire time. Like I'm going to throw in the old school Tyler. In my notes, my reference to it is I Ain't Got Time equals it's about to go down. And if you've watched Kevin Hart's Seriously Funny, you know what I'm talking about. But that's basically how you would describe this song because it has a very Matador versus the Bull in Spain kind of vibe at the very beginning. The orchestrals that are used. And apparently he tried to feature Kanye and Nicki on this. Kanye I think straight up declined. I don't think like in a mean way. I just think he was straight up just like, nah, I'm not feeling it. And then Nicki tried to find how she could put her flow in there, but she couldn't. And I love Nicki and I love Kanye. Don't get me wrong, but I'm actually glad that didn't work out because it sounds really good when it's just Tyler. Like a lot of these songs, he talks about how he tried to get some people to be featured in it and they like kind of declined and he was kind of like, F it, I'll just do it myself. And it ended up being better because trying to envision those people doing the parts that Tyler did, I'm just like, actually no, Tyler would have done it way better because also his vision is in his head. Of course he can describe his vision to people, but it's not gonna come off the exact same way to other people. And that's just how it is for anybody. Like you're never gonna be able to completely accurately describe what you want out of something to other people, and other people are gonna 100% understand what you're like talking about. And so I'm glad that he was able to just be like, F it, I'll do it the way I want. I mean, this is my album anyway. So blessing in disguise that Nicki and Kanye didn't get it. It would be kind of cool if he like re-released the album later, and it's like the version where it's like featuring all the people who said no or just couldn't think of anything. That'd be kind of cool to hear like their take on it. Kind of like how Hamilton, well, I'm not going to compare it to a Broadway soundtrack, but like what Hamilton did was that they had their normal studio soundtrack or whatever, and then they made like a mixtape where a bunch of different artists like redid the song. So that'd be cool if Flower Boy did that. I love how the running joke about how they're like, is Tyler gay? Because in I Ain't Got Time, he goes like, next line I'll have him like, whoa, I've been kissing white boys since 2004. And yeah, I know that sounded very proper. I'm really sorry. It was really funny because I saw a tweet where he was like, I've been trying to come out for like 2 years. Y'all just ignoring me or something like that. And I'm not laughing at the fact that like he's been trying to come out and like no one's noticed. That's such an event that would happen to Tyler. Like only Tyler the Creator would try to come out and no one would believe him and just keep moving on. So I don't know if he's, I don't know, because there's also some things where he talks about how he's not gay. I don't know, like, honestly, whatever he is, good for him. Congratulations. Love is love. So I don't really care. The way that Tyler has portrayed himself online, it just seems like it would be so fitting that people like wouldn't believe that he's gay. 911 Mr. Lonely. Ugh. My second favorite song on the whole thing, mainly because it has a little Charlie Wilson Gap Band thing, which I'll get to in a second. Because he considers it the saddest song. And it goes the hardest. The first half, which is 911, it's for Gap Band vibe, very, I think he said either Jill Scott or Erykah Badu. I could see either way. The verse in 911, inspired by the Gap Band, is the part that goes like, call me sometimes, please ring my line, you know I'll answer. Call me sometimes, please make my life. That's a Gap Band lick for sure. I wish I could name the song right now. It's escaping me right now. But I remember the first time I heard this song, immediately I was like, oh, hell yeah. He listens to the Gap Band. And apparently for this song, he created 25 versions. That's impressive. And I hope one day he releases all 25 on its own just album, because I love this song so much I would literally listen to 25 versions of the song like on loop and I would not feel guilty about it whatsoever. Originally it was going to be a very jazzy song. He has a lot of influence from the black artists, of course, in this song. It has a more of a modern twist obviously on it. And then the bridge, I didn't even realize that was the bridge. I thought the bridge was going to be the call me sometimes, but the bridge apparently actually is chirp, chirp, da 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 da, which I keep switching keys. I'm sorry for musicians who are like, why can't you stay in the key? The bridge, I like it. He said it was his like the ideal bridge that he would want to put out for people to listen to, which is good because I like the song. It worked out in his favor. I mean, I don't speak for everyone. And he purposely limited it to 8 bars because shady, shady, shady. I want this to be something that people put on loop. But he was saying that people were probably gonna think like, I need to release the full version of that little chirp chirp part. And I don't think we're ever gonna get it because he's probably gonna troll us and never put it out. But that's how I feel because it's only 8 bars and I'm just like, damn, I wish I could hear like a full version of it with like a first and second verse, a chorus. That'd be so cool, but it's okay. He already, providing us with that was already pretty good enough for me. So is that he's obsessed with the chords and melodies throughout this entire album, but especially for 911 Mr. Lonely. And I'm obsessed because it's obviously he's got a lot of influence from past black artists that have thrived or even didn't get the recognition, because some of them he took licks from people who were doing music back when segregation was still a thing. So obviously they didn't get the adequate recognition they deserved until way later or until after they died. But the chords are taken from them and it's just so beautiful. And he hid beautiful chords behind like the intense drums, because if you think about, there's like kind of semi-intense drums and then the nice melody behind it. Since his audience is mainly into like rap music, he had to make sure that it still had the rap beat before it had like the pretty melody. He had to make sure he still appealed to his fans. This is describing, I think, Forward, but I wrote this down in the 911 thing because this one just resonated with me. And it's my favorite quote because I can kind of relate. It was like, I'm lonely, but I'm having the time of my life. And that's paraphrasing it. I know he said it like a little differently than that, but that's kind of how I feel. People want to say that like just because you're lonely, you're sad. And I'm like, that doesn't necessarily, yes, being lonely can be associated with being sad, but like you don't have to be sad and lonely at the same time. Like for example, I'm not dating anyone and I haven't dated anyone, but that doesn't mean I'm just like sitting alone in my room being like, am I not good enough? Like, am I not pretty enough? Like, no, like I'm confident enough to be like, you know what? It's just not in my cards at the moment or in the past to have had like a boyfriend. It's fine. And I'm doing and I'm not trying to say like, you don't need a man, but like for me personally, it's like, I'm doing just fine without a man. I don't mind getting into a relationship, but like, you can still have the time of your life and be lonely. Like, it's perfectly fine. You don't need your second half. The fact that Frank Ocean is on this just sealed the deal. I love Frank Ocean, but even after he released Blonde, he still kind of like went into hiding again. So it was nice to hear Frank Ocean again. And then Steve Lacy, who provided the guitar for a lot of his songs, I think on this album, was also in there. And it was just those two people being featured just made the song that much better. And then just all the old school influences just really just pulled it all together and made it cohesive. But the next song is Dropping C's. It was made for Lil Wayne. Like, he literally had Lil Wayne in mind the entire time he was writing the song. And then he was actually able to successfully get Lil Wayne, which is great. And he described it as like elevator music. I would say it's a very chill 70s and 80s funk version of elevator music. Like, you know how some elevator songs, you can make out what song it is? Because sometimes they're just generic, like, royalty-free music, but then sometimes they'll play a cool, like, slowed down version of like September by Earth, Wind & Fire or something like that. Like, I could totally imagine, and I guess so could he, just imagine Dropping Seeds just be playing like the instrumental over an elevator. If I ever get rich enough to where I have a big old house that requires an elevator, that's 100% gonna be my elevator music for the entire time that I own that house. I'm never gonna be that rich, but I'm saying in a hypothetical world, that would be my elevator music song for sure. And also maybe Let Her Home by Childish Gambino. You notice throughout the entire album, either the titles or the content within it like makes little similes and metaphors towards being in a garden, being in bliss without a care in the world. So he made sure that Lil Wayne was able to keep that vibe in that, and he did, and it was great. He's able to convince Wayne to strip down. That's what I took away from it. He didn't explicitly say that in the interview, but I was thinking like, obviously it's not like How to Love level Lil Wayne stripped down, but like it was very like, cause he could have like done like Miss Officer level Lil Wayne, where it's like, that's not stripped down at all. That's very like your average Lil Wayne song. I don't think he really auto-tuned it this time. And he just was kind of like very like sitting back and like just knowing Lil Wayne, probably smoking a blunt, just kind of like talking about life and talking about, kind of making references to God, because I think the first line he says is like Adam in the Garden of Eden. It's like towards the end of the album. There's like 3 songs left in the album. So yeah, it was just kind of like, this is our transition down. November, which was the song where he said if he started it off, the whole album off with November, people were 100% gonna think that he was suicidal or heavily depressed. He was basically thinking like, oh my God, if I put this at the beginning, then people are gonna be like, holy shit, and there's gonna be like an uproar. Basically, November, what I wrote it down is a what if scenario on steroids. He's worried about wasting his life on irrelevant things. Basically, it seems like a diary entry, if you think about it, which is what he establishes in the interview. And he basically is like, what if I run out of gas? What if I miss out on this opportunity? What if I've been duped by my producers or my managers? Basically, all these scenarios where he knows that it's not realistic to be thinking this way, but it's like, I'm a celebrity of notable relevance, so I need to start remembering like, not everyone, just kind of like in Pothole, not everyone has the best intentions for me. So he starts overthinking, being like, who's actually there for me and who's just there for the clout, you know? And he's like, what's your November? Because he talks about how November, I guess, is the like best time of your life. It would cut to like a bunch of people talking about their favorite moments in life. My personal like November is just anytime I'm in California. Neither sides of my family live in LA, so it's not like a matter of like, I love California because I want to go to LA and make it big. No. I love California because my family lives there and I rarely get to see them, but when I do, it's just such a fun experience. It's fun learning more and more about my family. There's so many good things about California, but this is not what the video is about. But that's my November, is just anytime I'm in California. He describes the album as a whole as like a car ride. And so that makes sense because he's also making like metaphors involving cars and like, what if the brake with the gas? And that makes sense because I could also see listening to this like on a road trip. And so the purpose of November was like, this is the part of a car ride when you're having a conversation with someone. This is what I interpreted as. Is that like this part where you guys start getting to the deep parts of your conversation. It's actually like the deep-rooted like, oh my God, what if I've made all these mistakes in my life and I just was misled by so many people? He repeats, take me back. He's rewinding and he's like thinking about, that's like the transition into his like little mind escape where he's just like, oh my God, am I doing fine? Did I lose my mind? Basically, what's the tea? Am I okay? Like, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. The next song is Glitter, which is my other favorite song. Oh my God, I love that song so much. That's my third favorite song. And it's a very 90s R&B vibe, and he states that. Kind of gospel-y runs that were in the beginning. And he said that it was originally intended for Justin Bieber, but I guess Justin never emailed him back. And Justin, you done effed up. You should have emailed back. Her vocals would have sounded so great in the song, but also, again, Tyler doing his own thing in there still ended up being amazing. Another blessing in disguise that Bieber never picked up the call, never emailed him back or whatever. The rap was inspired by and originally made for Quavo, but I guess Quavo also never came through with it. So it was a very Quavo vibe, which I can actually kind of see that. And actually the background music you're hearing in this video right now is familiar by Donnie, Trumpet, and the Social Experiment, and the Social Experiment includes Chance the Rapper. And it features Quavo in there, and listening to that part of Familiar, because I don't really listen to Quavo or Offset or anybody like in Migos or anything, but listening to that part of Familiar when Quavo has his verse, and then listening to the verse that was supposed to be for Quavo, it makes a lot of sense. And I like it, and I like the flow, and Quavo, again, would have done a great job on it, but I'm glad that he declined or whatever, and Tyler was able to do it. Steve Lacy did guitar for Glitter, and he did a great job. I really like it. It makes me want, though I'm in the process of trying to learn acoustic guitar, it kind of makes me want to learn how to do the bass guitar. And Tyler said that it sounds like a sunset, which it very much does. Like, it's literally like, firework, I feel like glitter. Like, you can't help but smile when you say you feel like glitter. Like, glitter is associated, well, for me, glitter is associated with a mess that will not get off your face for like 3 days. But in the general sense, glitter is associated with having good time feelings, like woo. And sunsets are also associated with like happiness, like you see on Snapchats all the time of people taking pictures of sunsets and stuff, because it's just so pretty to look at, and it just reminds you how awesome our world is when you forget about how polluted it actually is. So yeah, Glitter is the second to last song. It's basically the ending credits that transitions into the final song, which is Enjoy Right Now, Today. If you didn't watch the video, because if you watch the video, then you know like 75% of the stuff I've been saying in this video. Pharrell Williams was featured in this. His vocals were in the background, but Tyler said something about how it was like old vocals, but also said like he came in and recorded. I don't even know. I couldn't figure out who that was, so it was kind of cool to figure that out through the video. And it's a very live in the moment kind of song. He was talking about how at his concerts, he's always seeing people shoving the phone in his face for like a selfie or anything like that, because they'll say no to getting pictures because he'd rather have a conversation with his fans. And I get that. Like, yes, taking pictures with fans is great because like, yeah, they want to get a picture with you. But like, I understand where it's like, but don't you want to actually like talk to me, like see what I'm like in real life, which I can see, which makes a lot of sense. Just how he's portrayed himself in this entire album. That's basically what he's internalizing. He's just kind of like, don't you want to actually know me though? Like, not just be able to say, I got a picture with Tyler, the Creator, but also be like, I got to talk to him, learn about his life, learn about what he meant in this album, which is how I felt from watching the interview. So that was my equivalent of having a conversation with him. That's the whole album. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's already gotten a lot of recognition, but I just don't think it's enough. You know, like we're focusing, and obviously everyone's music taste is different, so I'm not trying to bash any other albums that came out in 2017, but there are just albums that came out that last year where just in my personal opinion, I'm like, they deserve recognition, of course, and it just all depends on who's the artist, but some of them I'm just like, it got so much recognition, overplayed on the radio, but then it doesn't even hold a light in comparison to Flower Boy, in my opinion. I cannot reiterate this enough. Just because I'm very passionate about this album, I understand that doesn't mean that everyone is. I know for a fact that not everyone is gonna love Flower Boy, but when you're a musician, I don't know, like you don't have to be a musician to like get it, but it really helps as a musician, like as a singer. And when I took music theory in high school, once I took music theory in high school, you just have a deeper adoration for music, because you just realize, like obviously you know the instrument, like everyone knows that like instruments and background vocals and stuff are involved, but then when you actually learn like how those work together, how the harmonies and all that stuff, you just realize I'm like, this took a lot of work. I used to not understand why it took artists on average like at least like 2 years to complete an album. But I get it now, because first of all, you want it to come out perfect the first time anyway, because you don't want it to be a flop because you spent so much time on it. But there's so much that goes into it, like getting the featured artists, getting the lyrics right, making sure it goes with the music, making sure you get all the copyrights, because if you sample anything, you got to make sure you cover your tracks on that one. And there's just so much that goes into it, and you can tell that Tyler really put so much heart and soul into this. And Tyler, if you ever see this, congratulations. You made an exquisite album. It's absolutely amazing. And I always try to recommend it to my friends as much as possible. You did that. That's all I can really say about that. I feel like a mom right now. I'm so proud of you. You just did so well, and I can't wait for you to release other music. But I guess since it took you 2 years to do this one, I guess we'll see a new album in 2019. Thank you, Tyler, for creating an awesome album. I will continue to champion for it. I will continue to suggest it. It's always in my songs of the day on Instagram, which reminds me, song of the video is 100% Boredom by Tyler, the Creator, on this album, because obviously I love it so much. It's my #1 favorite song, and just love it so much. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are new to my channel and you're just coming, if this is the first video you've ever seen, I am Maya Carr. I hope this inclined you to want to subscribe, because I will be doing more videos about like why I like music, because this is going to be a series. I'm pretty sure it's going to be like why blank deserves more recognition. It could be a specific artist talking about just their albums in general, or who they are as people, which I know for a fact that I'm going to do why Donald Glover / Childish Gambino deserves more recognition, which he already has gotten a lot of recognition, but like for like the stuff that he doesn't get as much recognition for is what I mean. So it's gonna be a series, and this is the first episode of said series. So be sure to suggest any other people that you think I need to discuss that need art, people, albums, songs that just deserves more recognition, and I will, to the best of my abilities, try to make a video for that for you. I hope you agreed with at least 10% of what I said, and I will definitely link the actual video down below because you have to watch it. I went from liking Tyler, the Creator, to just like loving the man. I'll link his socials. I mean, y'all know who he is. If you're under the age of 30, you know who he is, but I will still link his stuff down below. So yeah, I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day, rest of your week, month, year, lifetime, all of that. But yeah, so see you later. Bye.